People don't want to change the way they've thought before. And you saw this in the health and wellness space. You see this in what's going on in the world with people's opinions.
Yeah.
You get new information, and you learn, you grow, whatever it is. And most people are willing to change, but a lot of people aren't, because they're so attached to the story that they've lived this up until this point, that if they have to go and realize that they were wrong, or they're living a lie, it hurts, because a lot of it is living a lie. You're not in truth. If you're not in truth, you're living someone else's story.
Yeah.
So and that's a real issue. So that accountability, man, is it. Like, you have to be able to go into that and realize, oh shit, like, things have changed. And that's really, nowadays as well, the people that I trust in this world, I'm like, they're willing to change. They're not dogmatic. It's like,
you're willing to be wrong.
Yeah, that builds
like
trust.
That's the thing. Like, for me, I'm more than willing to be wrong, so long as it moves something forward and there's something to gain on the backside of the experience, right? Like that. I believe that's why environment and relationships are so incredibly integral to anyone's forward momentum and growth. Because, I mean, if you think of truth as a river, right? Most people will camp out in the same spot that their parents camped out in, that their grandparents camped out in, and they build a hedge of protection around it. And so long as you believe the same thing and you like the way the water tastes at that exact spot on the river, you're safe. But the second you dare to go outside of those walls, because you recognize the river might taste different downstream or upstream, that you want to see how it flows. You want to see where cold pockets are, where warm pockets are. You want to see how other people drink their water. You want to experience where the water is sludge and where the water is clear. You want to experience all that it has to offer, recognizing that one day you might actually reach the body of the ocean that appears to be limitless and vast in experience. Some people will never step into that because they prefer the safety of those closed walls. It's not right or wrong. It's just what's most useful to someone's subconscious and their experience. Again, the problem is, what happens when someone approaches that wall, that belief system that we hold so tightly, becomes a defense mechanism and everybody fights. Richard Rohr contends that true contentment is when there is nothing to hide, prove, or protect. And so for me, I've resolved that there is a universal truth, and there is absolutely a moral conversation of right and wrong, and an ethical conversation of right or wrong, absolutely. But there are also presuppositional conversations that are always up to interpretation based on the contextualization of where you come from, what your background is, how you were raised, the environment, the experiences, the relationships. All of that has to be taken into account. And so for me, who I align myself with and what you've overcome and how you've chosen to overcome it, how you choose to live and move and have your being, and the environments that you place yourself in, because again, right, a seed can't grow in dead soil, right? So we have to find fertile soil that we can grow in. So those two things are paramount for me.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because there's like a degree of empathy that we have to have for why people think the way they do, right? Like, that's what I'm starting to understand too. It's like, there's a human and a story behind each person's perspective. And sometimes this is
there's pain.
There's
pain.
Yeah,
there's experience, right? There's a wounding that happens. And the problem with pain is if you don't transform it, you transmit it. Right?
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And this is something that I've also learned also. It's like, man, we gotta see people where they're at, and, and just be able to understand, and not, there's too much telling people what to do and how to do it. And I used to be like that. I'd learn something. I'm like, oh, you got to do this, even to family. Like, oh, I learned this about health. You got to do this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't inspire change. Telling somebody how to think, it doesn't.
Right.
Like, it doesn't, for me, what I get inspired is like seeing somebody do something, embody it, not talk about it, but what they're saying aligns with their actions.
Show me. Don't tell me. Show me. Yeah. I was talking to someone last night, and they said, are you concerned with your son? Because he's 6. He's like, he doesn't listen to you all the time. I'm like, I don't need him to listen to me all the time, because I understand that he's at an age where he's going to experience some defiance because he's just now starting to think abstractly, and he's going to try and assert some independence. What I am more concerned with and what I'm more aware of is that he is always watching me.
Yeah. They're like little sponges, man.
Yeah.
Little geniuses.
But people are as well. People are always watching. But people are typically watching to confirm a suspicion that they already have in their mind, right? I think growth happens when we can look objectively without an emotional objective attached to it. And we can just see. I don't want to put in a box and say people like us, but I will say people like us. I think one of the hard parts is seeing people in pain and knowing that there is a solution, and most of that is between your two ears, but you can't lead anyone to their own awareness. That has to happen on your own. And accountability that isn't asked for often feels like a threat. So even in trying to help, right, we become the one who is the threat because we're assuming things from their perspective.